Hey, everybody, it's Laura. I was all upset this week about so many different things, and I couldn't take my own advice and detach from it all. Friday, I was reading what I had written for the episode, and I absolutely hated it and threw it all out. Then I happened to go on Facebook, and I saw an old classmate of mine, Lee Cleary Leahy, had posted a nice comment, and it made me smile. Lynn Oakford Riley said something that made me laugh, and Kit Riley always had something nice to say, and Regina Dorley Schwartz, and then Kirsten Harrison Jacks posted something very nice. Corinne Tuccinardi Ludwig, who I've known forever, and my wonderful friends Sue and J. Murdoch, and my friend Barb Polhemus up in Maine, and Lisa Calhoun, thank you, and Sue Earthner. That was for this one particular post I saw that made me smile and laugh, and then I felt like writing again. So you can thank my friends for episode 10. When we left Cynthia, her mother had told her some shocking news about a major change down the street at the Watsons. Mr. Gagliardi had something to do with it. Have fun. Episode 10, Friday, Fright Night. Cynthia went up to her bedroom, threw herself down on the bed, and curled up around a pillow. Poor Mimi. She always did say her mother wanted her out of the way. For a moment, Cynthia wondered if Mimi had known something was going on. What had her mother said about things going on in the Watsons' home for so long? Mimi might think of them as being normal. Well, Mr. Gagliardi was not normal. None of this was normal. She was really mad at Mr. Gagliardi, and she wanted to tell him off, and she would. What did he think he was doing, breaking up a family? He was supposed to be Cynthia and Mimi's friend. And how could he do this to the neighborhood? Did he think anyone would ever let him work for them again? That anyone would trust him with anything? Her parents had made such a big deal when Mr. Gagliardi left a construction company in Stamford to start his own plumbing business in Brighton. Her father had given him a notebook, she remembered, a mechanical pencil, and a pad of pale green ledger paper that folded out so it had a long series of columns. Her father sat down at the kitchen table with Mr. Gagliardi and spent hours teaching him the basics of bookkeeping, how to make a budget, how to keep track of every expenditure he made, how to tell every penny he received where it should go. This was all the stuff her father was always trying to teach Cynthia to do, too. She was the only kid who had to write a check to get her allowance when she was little. Every spring, Mr. Gagliardi would stop by to see her father to proudly show him his books, not because they needed checking before he filled out his taxes, but because he wanted someone to witness what he was trying to build. At least that's what her father said, because Mr. Gagliardi's own father was dead, and his mother had moved out to Las Vegas, where his brothers and sister and brother-in-law worked in casinos, and he didn't really have any family here anymore. But what was going to happen to the school teacher from Westport he always brought to the Schylers' Christmas party? What happened to her? What happens to her? To think only a few days ago, after Mr. Gagliardi fixed a pipe that was leaking in the den ceiling, her parents had speculated that he would be settling down soon to start a family. How do you know that? Cynthia had asked them. He's worked hard to get his ducks in a row, her mother said, which explained nothing to Cynthia, but did remind her how Mr. Gagliardi had taught her how to make sounds like a duck. He planned to finish paying off his truck and tools this year, her father explained, the last big expenditures for the business, so his income should rise accordingly this year. According to what? Cynthia asked. According to his debt-to-income ratio, lowering to almost nothing, her father replied. What was your debt-to-income ratio when you married Mom, Dad? Almost zero the day we got married, he said. But then 20% the day after, when your mother started decorating. I paid for our furniture with my own money, dear. You know that. Yeah, her father grumbled, the one thing in 25 years. Percival William Schuyler, her mother said sternly. We both work in this partnership, thank you very much. There was a blood-curdling scream from downstairs. Mimi, Cynthia thought. It sounded like someone was trying to kill her. As Chet was barking, Cynthia headed down the stairs, but then stopped when she heard Mr. Watson say, Any kind of change is hard, Princess. I know, but our lives will be so much better. Mimi was crying. Don't you want to live with me? I do, Daddy. But why do we have to go away? Why can't we stay and she leave? Cynthia sat down on a stair. She guessed Mimi didn't know about Mr. Gagliardi yet. I promise, Princess, you'll love living in Manhattan. But why doesn't she love us, Daddy? Grandmother's a snob at everything, but she's not like her. She loves us. Your grandfather wasn't like your mother either. Certainly your Uncle Arno isn't. Uncle Arno loves us, and he loves his kids. So does Aunt Sarah. It's just Mother. This was awful. That's why we need a new start, Mimi. It doesn't matter what either one of us says or does. Your mother will never change. And if she's never going to change, we should let her stay stuck and go somewhere else, somewhere we can surround ourselves with warm and kind and loving and supportive people. Oh, Daddy, why did you marry her? Listen, my darling. First of all, your mother gave birth to you, which makes everything worthwhile. I don't love anyone or anything in this world more than I love you, and I will always be grateful to her for giving me you. Yeah, okay, but why did you marry her? There was a heavy sigh. I knew your Uncle Arno and your grandparents for a while before I ever even met your mother. You know that Uncle Arno and I were roommates at Yale, and I thought the world of him. And when he brought me to Nantucket for the summer, that first time, I fell in love with your grandparents too. And by the end of the summer, there wasn't anything I wouldn't do to become a part of that family. They were wonderful. Happily, your grandparents saw something in me and gave me a chance, while your Uncle Arno taught me how to speak properly, how to walk, how to dress, how to groom myself, even how to think. Oh, he did not, Daddy. Princess, Mr. Watson said, I was one of 8 children on a broken-down farm in rural Illinois. I knew nothing about anything except milking cows, mucking out stalls, and burying garbage. If my teacher had not taken an interest in me, I'd still be there. The napkin tucked in my collar, and with me grabbing food off the platter the second it landed on the table. I'd eat with my elbows on the table. You never did that, Mimi said. Oh, Princess, but I did. My saving grace was the fact I loved to read, and I read everything I could get my hands on. Could draw a little, and I was good with numbers. And my teacher was so good to me. He taught me things, and he gave me things to read. And all I wanted was to get off that farm and study art and history and architecture, to see New York, to see Broadway, to understand how to make money, real money, how to save money, how to get dressed up in nice clothes and go to nice places and meet interesting people and be able to talk to them and travel. I wanted to travel. My teacher had gone to Yale, and he got me to Yale. and your Uncle Arno led me from there. You took me to the farm once, Mimi said. It wasn't so bad. Oh, Mimi! It was a wail of despair from Mr. Watson. Cynthia had never heard of anyone who didn't like growing up on a farm. Of course, it was impossible to visualize Mr. Watson ever being on a farm. He never even walked across their lawn because he might get his shoes dirty. I do remember nobody fed the cats there, Mimi said. I remember they wanted them hungry so they'd kill the rats. Oh, gosh, Cynthia thought. As Chet peered around the corner, looking up the stairs at Cynthia, then she heaved herself up, stair by stair, sideways, to sit next to Cynthia and lay her head in her lap. Cynthia took the hint and pet her. She had the silkiest ears. If Ashette had come from the living room, that meant her mother could be in there with the Watsons. If she was not, Cynthia guessed she was listening in from the dining room on the other side. In the city, we're going to get you a kitten, Mr. Watson said. Maybe even tomorrow. Oh, yes, Daddy, I've always wanted a kitten. And now you will have one of your very own. And who knows, maybe we'll let it climb the drapes and claw up the furniture. Mimi shrieked with laughter, and he laughed too. Sounded good. What does Mother have against animals anyway? What does your mother have against people anyway? Mr. Watson said. They started laughing again, and Cynthia thought she heard her mother's laughter too. But Daddy, really, why did you marry her? She always says that you married her for her money. I did not. I knew I was on my way to making my own money. But you didn't have any. Right. No, I really didn't have any, but I was on my way on my career. Did you fall in love with her? Oh, Princess, your mother was very attractive, and we had a lot of similar interests. And she was fun. She knew so much, and she had traveled so much, and she knew so many people. But your grandparents were worried something bad was going to happen to her because she liked to hang out with this bohemian art crowd. She transferred from Wellesley to Barnard in New York. She started hanging out in Greenwich Village, which made your grandfather angry and your grandmother hysterical. They asked me to keep an eye on her if I could. You were living in New York? Yes. I had started working at Peck and Peck. I was working on their expansion plan. One of them had gone to Yale. They were opening a number of stores across the country, and I was brought on board. It was a good job. And your mother was deeply into fashion in those days. A lot of the young designers were a part of the art scene where she hung out. I started escorting her to these wild parties. And they were wild, and your grandparents were right to be concerned. But your mother didn't mind me as her escort because I didn't interfere. I simply stood by, looked good, and made sure she was okay. Grandmother was concerned about what? There was a lot of drinking, and a lot of these artists were not very stable emotionally. And sometimes they did crazy things. Like what? Oh, well, at a show, someone said something about their painting the artist didn't like, so he set the painting on fire and the whole place went up. I had to pull your mother out on Bleecker Street. She would have died in there. That night, actually, was the turning point in our relationship. We walked and walked around the village that night, and we decided that we operated much better as a couple. Your mother wanted to be with me. Of course, a lot of it had to do with me allowing her to do what she wanted. Later, that wasn't so true, and that's when we started to have arguments. Anyway, your grandparents were all for us. So was Arno. And we got engaged. And after she got her degree from Barnard, we got married, and we went to France on our honeymoon. Oh, that must have been fun, a honeymoon with Mother. Oh, but it was, Princess. I had never been, and your mother knew everything and everybody. and she obtained an introduction for us to meet the famous designer, Coco Chanel. Chanel number 5. Yes, that Coco Chanel. At the time, she was thinking about reopening her fashion house in Paris, which had closed in 1940 after the Nazis rolled in. I remember that, Cynthia's mother said, speaking for the first time. What year was this when you met her? 1954. Ah, her mother said. Beth was in first grade and Skip was in nursery school. Our lives were in very different places, Maynard. But not for long, he laughed. We may have been strolling in Rue du Faubourg Saint-Honoré, but unknowingly on our way to Brighton. Where were you strolling? Mimi said. Rue du Faubourg Saint-Honoré. It was a section of Paris where the most successful designers and artists and movie directors and fine restaurants, galleries, and nightclubs were. It was a combination of Greenwich Village, Fifth Avenue, and Park Avenue. It was amazing. It was a showcase for a movement in France, Princess, called Art de Vivre, the art of living. All the things that awakened the senses in a person in a wonderful way. Art, music, food, and fashion was part of that. Where did you meet Coco Chanel? Her mother asked. We had tea with her at the Bristol. Ah, her mother said. Bristol Hotel. I've been there. Probably the most beautiful hotel in the world. It is. And our meeting with Coco Chanel was fabulous. Mimi's mother arranged for an old friend of Coco's to join us, and it was the exact right thing to do. She was very comfortable with us, and she was in high spirits, and she wanted to talk about reopening her fashion house, which of course we were interested in. And one thing led to another, and I ended up getting a tremendous new job at Bergdorf's by bringing the Chanel line exclusively to them. You're joking. No, it was terrific. I came home from my honeymoon and had this big job. I didn't stay terribly long at Bergdorf's. Bergdorf Goodbits, Bibi asked. Yes, I jumped to Saks for a couple years shortly thereafter. What did you have be? Mimi asked. Your mother found out she was pregnant about 6 months after our honeymoon. She told me she never wanted to be a mother. Princess, listen to me. Your mother may not have intended to have a baby, but she did. And she did not have to. She could have gone to Europe and had an abortion, but she did not. And she brought into this world the most precious human being imaginable, whom I love more than anything or anyone in the whole wide world. But how could you bury someone who did love you back, Daddy? Mr. Watson did not say anything. Perhaps, Maynard, her mother said softly, you thought Arabella would change over time. Yes, he said, that is exactly what I thought. And that is what your grandparents and your uncle had hoped, because if your mother could be married to anyone, it was going to be me. That's what they believed. And I did too. And I loved her. And had I any idea what this house in Brighton would do to our lives, I never would have bought it. It was a mistake, and I should have seen it from day one. See to what? Mimi asked. That your mother didn't want a home. She wanted a place to house her art collection. What? Mrs. Schuyler said. She's always been a collector, Liz, and a really good one. Great eye, intuitively knows what's going to increase in value. And there we were, Manhattan. We had the baby and the nanny and the housekeeper, and we needed a bigger place. Arabella took one look at that main staircase and those walls and the ballroom, and she was completely fixated. We had to buy it, and we were moving there. No questions asked. She had found a home for her collection. The only problem was Mimi and I and the nanny and the housekeeper had to live in the house with her. She eventually got rid of the last two, but she still had us to drive out. Maynard, her mother said, I am so confused. You're not the only one, he said. Mimi laughed. Maynard, I know you have some very valuable pieces of art down the road. The Warhol, I've seen that. The Cezanne sketch. But are you saying Arabella wanted the house for her collection and not for you to live in? The Arabella Everett Watson Collection of Art and Architectural Drawings, Mimi said. That's going to be the name of it after she's dead. I am speechless, her mother said. I'm not allowed to have a pet because it might chew something. I can't open the curtains because the paintings will fade. I can't open a window because the humidity will damage the paintings. I can't have anyone overnight because they might break something. And we can't have a party, her father added, because one of the guests might be casing the joint as a burglar and planning to rob it. I had no idea, her mother said. No one's supposed to. No one's supposed to know what's in that house. But Maynard, you've had no say? Oh, I have had quite a bit to say, Mr. Watson said. Like, I'm sick and tired of this, Arabella. This is a house, not a museum. And Mother says she's sick and tired of a husband and child who do nothing but whine and get in the way. Excuse me, I've got to go to the bathroom. Use the powder room off the den, dear. What is the work Paul's been doing over there? Paul was Mr. Gagliardi. Besides becoming king of the castle, Mr. Watson said sarcastically. Silence. Mimi has no idea? Yes and no. She knows he's become a fixture in her mother's life. No, she does not know they're sleeping together. She whispered, Maynard, are you absolutely sure they are? I am absolutely sure, Liz. Then she's a fool, her mother announced. Maynard, I wouldn't make it easy for her. What? Don't make it easy for her. Don't roll over. What are you suggesting I do, Liz? Stake your claim. Yours and Mimi's. It's your house, too. And what are you going to do about school for Mimi? I've got a meeting set up with Donald Barr at the Dalton School on Tuesday. A shadow passed over the threshold of the front door, and the doorbell rang. Cynthia caught Ashette before she rolled all the way down the stairs. She stood up, held a hand to her mouth, and turned towards the upstairs to call, I'll get it, hoping it sounded like she was up on the second floor. Someone looked in the window. It was Mrs. Pottinger, carrying an umbrella in the pouring rain. She was here to pick Cynthia up to babysit. She'd completely forgotten. Cynthia quickly opened the door, and Mrs. Pottinger's face lit up when she saw her. Oh, thank heaven, Cynthia. You usually come right out, and I thought, uh-oh, something's happened, and I'm going to need to find... No, I'm good. I just have to grab a book, and I'll be right out. Patsy, her mother called, coming out of the living room. Come in, dear. Oh, I can't. I've got Danny in the car. Well, you look lovely, her mother said. You do, Cynthia echoed over her shoulder. Mrs. Pottinger wasn't the most secure person in the world, but she liked her a lot. Oh, wait, her books were in the kitchen. She turned around and came back downstairs. It was her purse she wanted because after Danny went to bed, she could go outside and have a cigarette. She better bring an umbrella. When Cynthia came back from the kitchen, Mrs. Pottinger was telling her mother they shouldn't be too late tonight. They were going to the house of the elderly founder of the architectural firm Mr. Pottinger worked for. His house was in Cos Cob, which was part of Greenwich. We're supposed to be eating early, but who knows, Mrs. Pottinger said. Dick and I are both nervous wrecks because someone at the firm is getting promoted, but nobody knows if it's going to be Dick or the other guy who's also going to be there with his absolutely gorgeous wife. Oh, go with confidence, Patsy, her mother said, because you look lovely. Mrs. Pottinger wasn't exactly pretty, but she did have nice blue eyes and blonde hair. Her figure was pretty good, too. And she was so sweet. Everybody liked her. Do you think this outfit is okay, Liz? Oh, it's perfect, her mother said. Just remember to touch up your lipstick before you go in. Although, with this kind of rain, I don't think anyone's going to notice much of anything. You'll be careful driving on 95, right? The splash from those trucks. Oh, I know. Dick already warned me. I'm meeting him at his office in Stamford so we can arrive at the dinner together. Cynthia wanted to ask her mother about Mimi before she left, but her mother was clearly pushing them outdoor. She wanted them out. Mrs. Pottinger shared her umbrella with Cynthia down to their car, a Volkswagen station wagon, where Danny was crawling around. He was a cute kid, and he would listen to her. She'd babysat for a couple hours every weekday morning over the summer so Mrs. Pottinger could have some time for herself, shopping, playing tennis, whatever, while Cynthia built construction sites in the sandbox, shot squirt guns, and pitched wiffle balls. The Pottingers lived in what was called a starter house in Brighton, a half circle called Meadow Tree Road, which had 2- and 3-bedroom Cape Cod houses that young couples bought before they became more successful and could buy a bigger house. Mrs. Pottinger had grown up in Brighton. She was only a couple of years older than Cynthia's sister, Beth, but she married right after college and had the boys, so she was a very young mom. Beaton, whom they called Bipper for who knew what reason, was 6 and Danny was 4. Mrs. Pottinger's mother, Mrs. Conover, was divorced from her father, but she still lived in Brighton and belonged to the Schylers Country Club. Cynthia's mother thought she probably had given the Pottingers the down payment for their house because, quote, she had money. Cynthia would have money someday. She thought she'd be good at advertising, maybe. And Mr. Fitzgerald made a lot of money, though she wasn't sure how. He hired people to write jingles and copy and stuff for a while, but then he hired the people who hired the jingle and copywriters. He could be the top guy now. She wasn't sure. She knew he was way up there. He was in the Gray Bar building and his office was on the top floor. She couldn't be the top guy at a company, but she could be a writer or something. There was a lot of talk about women's rights and women having careers, but Cynthia wasn't sure what it was going to be like when she got out of college in 1978. It was hard to think of women working. She tried to visualize her mother working. Would she just get married and have kids after college? Or would she work for a while? Doing what? A secretary like her mother had been once, but she had taken typing last year and it wasn't easy. And the idea of someone like her father firing off letters didn't sound very appealing. And all that carbon paper. Her hands always got black when she had to type anything. She and Danny played with his Fisher-Price Little People Airport for a while. The Pottingers were Catholic, and they ate tuna fish on Fridays usually. She had left tuna fish sandwiches and a can of soup. Cynthia made that for dinner. Then she scooped a little chocolate ice cream for Danny, which he promptly spilled on his white shirt. At 7:30, they watched I Love Lucy on Channel 5, and after Cynthia swore Danny to secrecy, she let him play with his big brother's G.I. Joe for a little while. That was special. After changing into his pajamas and brushing his teeth, Danny said his prayers, starting out well with, "Thou I lay me down to sleep." But then he went careening off into, "Which is dead, one nation under God," getting totally lost, but he tried to say his prayers, so it counted. Cynthia read to him, then the only book Danny ever wanted her to read to him, Danny and the Dinosaur. Then she turned off his light, but left the hall light on and took his chocolate-stained shirt downstairs to the kitchen, where she left it soaking in a Tupperware bowl in the sink. Mrs. Pottinger had taught her to do that. Get hot water on those stains as soon as possible. 8:30. She wondered if Mimi and Mr. Watson had left. She called her house, and her father picked up. "Hi, Dad, it's me." "You, who still owes me $1.50, he said. I have it all ready for you, Dad. It's in a sucrets tin on my bureau. You're welcome to check to make sure I'm telling the truth. Otherwise, I'll give it to you when I get home. I can wait, he told her. Did Mimi leave? No. No? No. Is her father still there? Yes. Must be in the vicinity. Clearly her father wasn't free to speak. When are they leaving? Not sure. It's Cynthia, he said to someone. Okay, your mother's going upstairs to pick up, okay? So hold on. To tell me what's going on, I hope, Cynthia said. I hope so too, kiddo. It's a mystery here too. You're babysitting? Yeah, at the Pottingers. Now her father was humming under his breath. Must be quite a scene there. Hello, darling heart, her mother said in her best sing-songy voice. Can I hang up now? Yes, dear. I look forward to receiving my $1.50, he said. Click. If you were here, dear, I'd send you down to the Watsons to see if Mr. Gigliani's truck is down there. What? Why? Your father made a pitcher of martinis and we're hatching a plan with Mr. Watson. If Paul's there, we'll do it one way. But if he's not, we'll do it a different way. What sort of plan? What are you going to do? Nothing that is of concern to you, dear. We just want to make sure, I want to make sure, that Mrs. Watson understands that it's Mimi's house, too. This didn't sound good, particularly if martinis were involved. So, Cynthia, how can I find out if his truck's there or not? Well, I could call Clark and see if he'll go look. She looked at the clock. It's not 9 yet. She wasn't allowed to call anyone's house after 9 o'clock. Call, her mother said. See if he'll do it. And then she hung up. Oh, boy. Her mother and martinis. This should be an interesting night. The last time she drank martinis, she and her friend Mrs. Hayward were trying to do cartwheels in the front yard. She fetched her address book and looked up the Allertons' phone number and dialed. Professor Allerton answered. Hi, Professor Allerton. It's Cynthia Schuyler calling. May I please speak to Clark? About what? Oh, it's just about school. What about school? I wanted to ask him if he could do something for me, an experiment. I'm babysitting and I can't go outside, and I wondered if he could walk to the Watsons' garage and back and tell me how many steps it is and how long it takes him. This wasn't going well. She couldn't say it was a science experiment because Professor Allerton was a scientist. Oh, she knew what to say. Mimi Watson got hurt the other day, you know, and she needs to know the answer. And she asked me if I could do it. But as I said, I'm babysitting and I can't. And I thought maybe Clark could do this favor for Mimi, seeing as she has a broken nose and everything. This is the most cockamamie call I've ever received, the professor told Cynthia. Clark, he shouted. Go downstairs and pick up the kitchen phone. It's the pretty girl's little sister from down the street. She wants you to take a walk outside. In the rain. Hello? You can hang up now, Professor. You bet I can. Click. Clark, it's Cynthia. I'm babysitting and my mother needs someone to go to the Watsons' house and see if Mr. Gagliardi's truck is there. What? And then you have to call me back and tell me if it's there or not. I'll give you the number. Got a pencil? After a long moment, Clark said, What? Come on, Clark, this is important. My mother needs to know. Can you just go look and call me back? Mrs. Schuyler needs a plumber? Mrs. Schuyler just needs to know if his truck is there or not. Will you go and look, please? But I'm in my pajamas and slippers. That's okay. Just go and look, Clark, and come back and call me. Oh, wait, Clark, it may be raining. Take an umbrella, and if your father asks you, just tell him Mimi needs to know how many steps it is from your house to her garage. What? Just go and see if Mr. Gagliardi's truck's there, will you? Well, I must get my slicker and my galoshes and There's no time, Clark. Please, my mother needs your help. Grab your umbrella and go. Well, for Mrs. Schuyler, I suppose. Thanks, Clark. Call me back at this number. She made him read it back to her before she hung up. Phew. She wondered if he even understood what she was asking him to do. The phone rang 2 minutes later, but it was Mrs. Pottinger, just checking in. The phone's been busy, she said. Oh, yes, sorry, I was on the phone with my parents. We have an unexpected house guest, and they just wanted me to know they were there. Oh, you don't need to go home now, do you? Because we're still in Cos Cob, and they're talking about going out. How is the dinner going? It's ghastly, she said under her breath, adding brightly. But thanks for asking. She said she or Mr. Pottinger would be home by 11:30. 5 until 11:30. That was 6.5 hours. 650 she'd make tonight. That was great. She could go to the movies tomorrow or something. She went upstairs to check on Danny. He was sound asleep. She went back to the kitchen and started pacing, waiting for Clark to call back. If he called back. What was her mother up to? What kind of plan? The phone rang and she snapped it up. Hello? The line was busy, her father said. Who are you talking to after 9 o'clock? Mrs. Pottinger called to check in. Oh, all right. So listen, kiddo. I'm calling because your mother's unfolding a plot downstairs, and I'm not sure it's a good one. I wanted to see how you felt about the possibility of Mimi staying with us until the Christmas holidays. What? That's what I said. Mimi's going to live here when her mother's 200 yards down the road in a 6-bedroom mansion. She heard his Zippo lighter and could imagine him lighting a cigarette. What do you think? Well, how do you guys feel about it? Mimi is not much of a problem. At least she doesn't seem to be. I think her mother has her pretty well trained, Cynthia said. And one teenager in the house is always a problem, her father said. But with two, there's always a chance they can keep each other out of trouble. She remembered the picture of martinis and knew her father wasn't immune to them either. I don't know, Dad. It's up to you. It's your house. Mimi and I get along, and she has her own bathroom, so I don't know what the problem would be. Okay, kiddo. Bathroom's a good point. Good, thanks. Is this going to happen, Dad? I don't know, he said, hanging up. Well, that was interesting. Her mother thought she'd be better off with them, and she probably would be. At least she wouldn't have to change schools. She waited for Clark to call back, but the minutes were ticking by. Finally, at 9:30, the phone rang. Hello? He threw me down on the ground. What? He threw me on the ground. Mr. Gagliardi threw you on the ground? No, my father did. That's not very nice. Why? And now I'm all wet, and my robe is all wet. I'm not even sure if I have another pair of pajamas that are clean. What happened? I don't know. He's mad about something. He's always mad about something. He was waiting just inside the front door, and when I opened it, he pushed me off the porch into the bushes. Oh, Clark, that's not right. He shouldn't have done that. Is he drunk or something? No. Well, what can I do about it? He knows I won't do anything. She wanted to suggest he throw his father in the wet bushes in the rain, too. Were you able to go to the Watsons? Yes. At first, I didn't see the truck. I didn't think it was there. But then I went down and around to the garage, and I looked in the window, and there it was. It was inside. Why would Mr. Gagliardi keep his truck in the Watsons' garage? I don't know, Clark. Maybe it broke down, he said. Or maybe he just doesn't want people to see it, Cynthia thought. Cynthia, what's going on? Why does your mother want to know about Mr. Gagliardi's truck? Oh, Clark, I'll explain on Monday. If I even know by then. But listen, thanks a lot. You're helping my mom out. She hung up with Clark and called her house. Her mother answered. His truck's there, Mom, but Clark says it's in the garage, so no one would see it from the driveway. We owe Clark, Mom. We should get him a new pair of pajamas because he fell in the bushes and got all wet. All right, sweetie. How are things going there? Fine. Mrs. Pottinger says one of them should be home by 11:30. Good. We'll talk in the morning, all right? Oh, and Mr. Watson will probably be here tomorrow morning around 9 for breakfast. I think he's staying over at Howard Johnson's tonight. How is Mimi? Oh, she's hanging in there. She's happy her father's here, but she does not want to go to New York. Right now, she wants to stay here. As it turned out, the Pottingers didn't get home until almost 3 o'clock in the morning. They had left the station wagon at Mr. Pottinger's office because Mrs. Pottinger was absolutely blitzed. She walked in the door, grabbed a wad of cash out of her purse, silently pressed it into Cynthia's hand, and weaved past her upstairs. Cynthia stood there for a minute, wondering, well, what was she supposed to do? She looked outside. It was raining. Mr. Pottinger was out there in his little Triumph in the driveway. It was a very little car. She assumed he was going to take her home. Why else would he be out there? He never drove her, though. Oh, she went outside. She opened up the little tin door, could barely get her umbrella in, and closed it. He backed out of the driveway and didn't say a word. And then he drove, 5 miles an hour, maybe? He was trying very hard not to appear drunk, but he obviously was. He was leaning over the wheel, staring at the road. At one point, he rolled down his window, stuck his hand out in the rain, and brought it back in to slap water on his face. This was terrifying. Cynthia was dying to see how much money she got from Mrs. Pottinger. Maybe this was all worth it. When they turned in slow motion onto Glen River Road, there was a pair of approaching headlights, and Mr. Pottinger let out a string of expletives, saying, oh, great, that's all he needed, the cops. But he was wrong. It was just a normal car. So they crept along at 5 miles an hour down the road and carefully steered into the driveway. She wondered why all the house lights were on. She thanked Mr. Pottinger and said goodnight, and he still didn't say anything to her. She closed the door and walked around to the back of the house. This was so strange. Why were all these lights on? She went up the back stairs and let herself in the kitchen door. She put her purse on the counter and took out the cash Mrs. Pottinger gave her. Oh my gosh, she gave her $36. $36. That's like if she had stayed there for 3 days. Hachette came into the kitchen wagging her tail. It looked like she might have been eating Triscuits because she had crumbs on her mouth. Cynthia followed the crumbs into the den, found the box, which Hachette had torn open. She picked it up. She moved on to the dining room and froze. There was beef stew in a big serving bowl, 2 loaves of garlic bread, a salad bowl with the Good Seasons shaker bottle next to it, a stack of plates, 1 clean and 1 dirty, crystal wine glasses, dirty napkins, a couple of bottles of wine. Gosh, what went on here? She moved towards the living room. There was Mr. Watson, sitting in a chair, asleep, with his face aimed up at the ceiling. Was he asleep or passed out? And there were her parents, her mother lying across the sofa, her head against her father's chest, the latter who was angled in the corner of the couch with his head back, snoring. But when she turned to leave, that was the real shocker. Mr. Gagliardi was lying under the dining room table with a couch pillow under his head, asleep, or passed out maybe. Cynthia smelled pot. This had to be a dream. A nightmare? It was too weird. She definitely smelled pot. Where was it coming from? She walked out of the living room and heard someone moving around upstairs. Is that Mimi? She slowly went up the stairs, as Chet on her heels. The guest room door slowly opened, and in the next moment, there was Mrs. Watson, backing out, wearing some sort of white, gauzy moo-moo thing. Her usually perfect bubble of hairspray looked deflated on one side. She was carefully closing the door, and then she exhaled a big cloud of pot smoke. Cynthia didn't dare say anything. She just stood there like a deer caught in the headlights. And then Mrs. Watson noticed Cynthia and turned, peering intently at her, tilting her head to one side, then the other, her eyes narrowing as if she were assessing Cynthia as a painting. And then suddenly Mrs. Watson's face screwed up in a sneer, and she said, "Your mother is such a bitch!" Well, just another Friday night on Glen River Road, I guess. There seems to be a lot going on in the neighborhood. Perhaps on Friday, we'll learn a little more about what is going on. And I will get it done, my friends. Thank you so much for joining me and the class of 74. I hope you had some fun. I must say, I started out in a terrible mood when I started this, and now I'm in a wonderful mood. So I hope you are too, and I hope you have a wonderful week, and I'll see you here on Friday. And please remember, we don't drink and drive anymore. Ever. Bye-bye.